Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Since we last spoke, we of course have a new leader of the Liberal Party, Angus Taylor. He's expected to reveal his front bench today, and Sky News has confirmed that Jacinta Price and Andrew Hastie will be returning to the front bench. And as we've heard from Angus Taylor so far, he's flagged tougher immigration policies and, to quote him, to shut the door to people that want to bring hate and violence. We're going to, of course, get into the immigration debate in a moment. But Adam, first of all, can I get your thoughts on the new leadership? Because as well as getting the right people front and centre, unifying the party, putting out some strong policies, he's up against the rise of One Nation and he's trying to win back support there. And that's going to be very tough to earn back the trust of voters who've abandoned the Liberal Party.
Yeah, certainly that is true. Look, I think it's a positive development for the Liberal Party. Of course, the leadership under Susan Lee was not going well. I think that's pretty clear, regardless of what you might think of Susan Lee. I think the challenge now for the Liberals and for Angus Taylor is to get policies out there. I mean, I think it's right, actually, that One Nation has more detailed policies on its website than the Liberal Party does. And of course, on the immigration policy, they've been consistent for many, many years. And the struggle I think the Liberals have there is they don't have a great deal of credibility on that policy because, of course, they've overseen largely the immigration levels that we have, along with the Labor Party. But there's promising signs. That Sky News poll, I think, showed a small fall in One Nation's primary support, a small increase in the Liberal Party's support. That could continue. I think it's all going to depend on the next few weeks on whether the electorate, and let's be frank, probably a third of the electorate don't know who Angus Taylor is yet. I must say they all know who Pauline Hanson is. So there's a recognition issue there. But I think so far anyway, it's only been a few days, but he's been on the front foot. So has Jane Hume. They've been out there. I think that's a good thing. It's a fresh face. Let's just wait and see how it pans out.
Yeah, certainly the first step, I would say, at turning the party around. Sky News revealed the migration policy that was developed under Susan Lee but was not released, and that would limit visas from more than a dozen countries where terrorist groups are in control, including Afghanistan, Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Palestine, Philippines, Somalia, just to name a few. Adam, what are your thoughts around this policy? Not that it was revealed.
Look, I think it's it's a step in the right direction. Actually, somewhat laughably, the first thing I thought was Donald Trump's famous Muslim ban immigration policy of many years ago. You might remember that. That was very controversial. But this kind of has similarities a little bit. It's not called that, but I think most of those countries that you just rattled off are certainly Muslim countries. It's not the entirety of the population from those countries, as I understand it, just certain regions. I think it's reasonable, especially in the wake of the tragedy of Bondi. I think people want to see greater quality of migration coming to Australia. They don't want to see people here where statistically there's a higher probability that they're not going to enmesh and gel with the Australian community. But the problem with the policy I see is that it's not really about numbers. I mean, I imagine that the sheer numbers of people coming from those places are pretty low, and I think the overarching anger about migration is the level. I think just the sheer quantity. I know it's been falling. Labor keeps saying it's falling from 500,000 to 300,000, which is the latest figure, but 300,000 is still a lot, and even the budget forecasts of 220,000, 230,000, these are still huge figures compared to any other Western country. Probably, I would say, more proportionately than any other developed country in the world. So they're still very high. Let's say it goes back to 250. That's still double what it was in the early 90s. It's roughly triple what it was in the 80s under Hawke and Keating. So these are very high levels. Do the Australian community want those levels? It looks like at the moment they don't.